Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And my guest today is the creator of the international flower elixir brand, Silent Moon Imaginarium. And she's on a mission to spread awareness of the power of the flower and vibrational medicine to the masses. She offers life-transforming one-to-one programs, online support groups, and magical live events. That makes me want to get there. Helping people honour their inner shadow and connect with their wild, authentic self. This is going to be exciting. So, hi and welcome, Indra Singh. How are you this morning?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm wild and free.
That is the best thing to be first thing in the morning. So, Indra, I want to know all about your story. Tell me, where does your story begin?
Oh, my story begins at childhood, always. Knowing there was something different, and it kind of sounds cliche, but I did. As a child, I always knew there was something a lot more out there than just the family life that I was living. And my upbringing was quite diverse anyway, because I was brought up by a Catholic mother and a Sikh father. So I had a real range of authentic, shall I say, stuff going on in my household. So, 1 minute I'd be with the Indian side of the family, the next day I'd be with the Geordie Irish Catholic side of the family. And although wonderful and diverse, for a small child, I often found it quite confusing. And it kind of messed with my head a lot. And there were times when I often felt so alone. So in that black sheep kind of mode. I often call myself the brown sheep, actually, because they're even rarer than black sheep.
That's it.
It was great and it's wonderful, but you've got the warrior side of all that sort of Celtic energy on both sides, which is like, my energy is going to be kind of fiery and powerful anyway, so I didn't express that until later on in my life, really, but I always did feel like the brown sheep of the family. And it wasn't until really in my teens, when I got to secondary school, privately educated in the UK, all girls school, first of all a convent, so
yeah.
An intense experience, and not something I can say that I actually enjoyed, but certainly something that has helped me grow as a woman. Definitely grow as a woman. So
where did it go from school?
So after school, realizing that, I often felt not quite of this planet, and I suffered from an eating disorder, anorexia, all the way through my teen years, and I was extremely ill, and I got to a point where I was on death's door. I was 4.5 stone, which is about 65 pounds, which is nothing. And that was when I was about 18 years old. And I got to that point, and, I can look back now and look at that dis-ease, as I call it, a dis-ease, because it was a dis-ease in my life. It taught me so much, and it really helped to transform me, because, to be honest, Pat, at that point in time, I couldn't have got any lower.
Yeah.
I couldn't have gone any further down. So from then I started my yoga training. And it was only really because of my anorexia that I got into my yoga training, because it was my mom, not my Indian father, but my Geordie Irish Catholic mother that used to go. Can you remember? I don't know if you remember in the 80s, but yoga was very different than it is now. We wore leotards. There was a lady in the UK called the Green Goddess. I don't even remember to be on the telly. She used to dance around in a lycra, and yoga was very much about that. And now it's all about, this is how you need to look, and these are the best clothes to wear. But I don't teach yoga like that, because I'm very much in the traditional way. But anyway, the classes I used to go to used to be full of ladies who were in their 70s and their 80s. And I'd be this trim teenager, kind of heading into my 20s, doing all the asana movements, showing them all how to do it. And they loved it. And it was at that point that I actually realized, hey, I can do something. I'm good at something. And it was yoga was the first thing. So I decided to go into teacher training and did many different forms of teacher training, from, yoga for the special child in the US with a lady called Sonia Sumar. I did lots of yoga for children training. And then I went into doing integral yoga and mainly trained in Brazil and in the US, in Chicago. So spent a lot of time over in the US learning how to do different forms of yoga and just coming back to the UK and teaching. And that was the start of my transformation. But then I took my work with eating disorders and drug addiction, and I turned the yoga into a program for people with addiction. So I still do that now, believe it or not, in the same hospital as where I was treated for anorexia. And I didn't even live in the town at that time. I was in a totally different town when I was ill. So I actually live now in the town that I was treated, in Harrogate in North Yorkshire. So I teach there in this hospital people who suffer from addiction, and I teach them yoga nidra, which is yoga of sleep, which is how to connect with your personal power within you just by meditation. I mean, it sounds easy, but it's not.
So what's the next stage of your journey?
Well, the next stage of my journey was to move on to working in Peru and doing some work with the shamans out there. And I went out to Peru and worked in the forest and worked with some shamans out there, not realizing that, during my ayahuasca experience and working with plant medicine, that it was going to lead me and open me to a totally, totally different path. And when I was working with ayahuasca in Peru, which is a form of plant medicine, I got really opened up to the fact that I should go home and I should work with the flowers and sit with the flowers and channel the flowers. And I'm seeing this vision and I'm noticing what's going on. And I went home and I just didn't listen. I didn't do it. And then
the universe tries to tell you and it taps you. So I'm interested what happened next.
Well, actually, I had a realization that my intuition was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I was doing a lot of readings for people. I was doing readings for myself and finding it very easy to just tell people, well, this is how it is. And, you're disconnected. What you need to get connected again. And this is what the cards say. And then I started to work with the moon energy and connect with moonlight, and just randomly came from nowhere that I was feeling the need to do rituals with the moon. And we all know the benefits of the moon and how the moon affects our tides and its power, especially as women, with our ebbs and flows within our lives. And so I started doing all this work and with the moon, and I found a lady online who just again randomly popped up, who was who did flower essence courses. And I always connected with flower essences. I always found that they were so beneficial to my own personal healing. And if you haven't ever tried vibrational essences, especially flower essences, if you're a sensitive, they're extremely powerful. So I just decided to do this work with her because she worked with the moon energy as well. So I connected with her. She was from the UK, went down to Canterbury, did some work with her and did some courses online with her. And then the next minute, I didn't even think, things were starting to happen. Not only was I channeling flowers, but bottles were appearing, labels were appearing, and this brand was growing. And my name, Silent Moon Imaginarium, came in a dream. So it wasn't like I sat there going, I must find a name for my business. It was so easy. And don't we know that when things flow like that, they're just right, aren't they?
They are just right. And at the same time, sometimes things are hard work. So don't get put off if you think this isn't flowing easily, therefore it must be wrong. Because sometimes the universe expects you to put some legwork in as well.
Well, that was the case at this time because everything flowed. It was amazing. And I was going on my last weekend in Canterbury, and Sarah said to me, she said, "Oh, why don't you bring your essences down and let's try them, and people might want to purchase them." And I was like, okay. So, and it started to grow then as a business. I didn't even think that I would be like selling them. I said, oh, right, okay. Yeah, and it just sort of appeared. And then from then on, I got my website, and everything started growing from there. I started creating beautiful room misters, because I also work with, especially the people who work with me regularly, a lot of them like to take the essences, but they also like to do the external work as well. So they often buy a spray with the flower essence inside of it that will help to, and essential oils that helps to clear the energy, because if we do the work within, it's kind of good to do the work outside as well. So it's balanced. So that's basically, very basically, in a nutshell, how Silent Moon began.
Wow, that's fantastic. And how is it developing now? You said you do one-to-ones and you do retreats as well. Tell us a bit more what happens there.
Well, as it started to grow, I noticed that, and honestly, Silent Moon is not just for women. I have to say that, but obviously I attract 98% of women, okay, because I'm moon based. All my essences are made by moonlight. So the moonlight brings up the shadow energy within us. And I'm not talking about any black kind of witchcraft or anything like that. I'm talking about those sides of us that we don't necessarily like, but they're there. And it allows us to face them, to love them, to accept ourselves in all our fullness. And then we can be our ultimate truth and authentic being that we need to be on this in this life, and be able to do what we need to do. So to answer your question, what I'm doing at this moment in time is I have one-to-one work that I do with people over 6 months, which is based around the Wild One program. So the Wild One program is basically finding out who you really are underneath all of your conditioning. So we work very deeply and very personally with all different aspects of ourselves, and it's wonderful. I'm seeing so many transformations in people, especially women that come to me. And then of course I run that as a retreat as well. So the Wild Retreat. This is the third one in July. I always run it in the Lake District in the UK. So this is the third one that will be happening. And I'm working with the mother energy this time. So with it being summer, we're working with the warrior and the nurturer that's within our mother energy. So how do we feel when we look at our nurturer? How do we feel when we look at our warrior? You know, what do they mean to us as individuals? And within the retreat, we do a lot of self-expression, a lot of talking, yoga, and different practices you have to come to know.
Is that an invitation? Because I'm feeling strangely drawn, although I have to tell you, and yoga teachers always go mad when I say this, I am no good at yoga.
No, I do not believe it. People always say that. They always say that. And think that they have to be able to move, and that's how yoga's so sadly that yoga's turned out that way now, that people say that they're no good at yoga. It's just like,
well, so this is Pat Duckworth, and today I'm talking to Indra Singh. And Indra, I want to know more about what drives you now in terms of your purpose. If you have a purpose in life, a reason for doing this work, what would it be?
Oh, the purpose is for connection. Deep connection. And I think as women, in our past and our ancestry, we've lost our connection, and a lot of the time we've lost our own personal power. Yeah. And I think it's really important that us as women, as individuals, need to find that warrior within us, and we really need to be able to express that and allow that to be, and allow that to grow. And I think that really comes from finding the different pieces of ourselves that we've missed along the way, and that we haven't picked up, and that, you know, that have been lost in our ancestry, and that have been lost, you know, within our families, you know. And we need to pull that together, bring those little pieces together, and just find our wholeness. And it's connection with me, it's connecting to other people, which is kind of what I do with my support groups as well. On Facebook, I run flower essence support groups, so we connect and we find our pieces together as women and men, if they want to come along.
Oh, that's brilliant. So you've told us how you've developed your capabilities around your yoga and around developing the flower essences. As an entrepreneur, how has it been developing those entrepreneurial skills, everything you need to do to run your business?
Well, that is a challenge. I can't say it's not, because it is, because it's one of those things that, you know, I'm not a natural techie, so I have relied on other people to help me, but I've learned so much. I've learned so much from having to use a computer to having to be, you know, out there talking to other people, because I've always been one of these people who likes to walk around my garden, likes to walk in the woods. I'm kind of a hedge witch, really. I see myself in my little shed in the woods, you know, living like a little witch and as the hermit, you know. And in this kind of lifestyle, you can't be the hermit full time, because you have to reach out and you have to speak to people. And it's fascinating, really, because the right people come at the right time. So even if they're not necessarily interested in working with your products or the things that you offer, there's the support there that I've noticed outside. And certainly over the last couple of months, more so than ever before, have I noticed that there is a community out there that we can all connect with, that we can all stretch out and receive, you know, information from, and then give back to. So
Yeah, it's that giving and receiving is really important. Learning to receive is a real challenge.
I think many women who have that issue, who have that sense of, I am not good enough to, or I'm not willing enough to receive. How do I do this? You know, and it's just reprogramming yourself to actually, you know, okay, it's okay to have something for yourself or receive back. As simple as a compliment. You know, how do we take compliments? Not very well.
Yeah, and if somebody gives you a compliment, they're giving you a gift. It's like they've wrapped something up and they've given it to you. And so often we turn around and hurl it back by going, oh, it's nothing, or this old thing, or I threw this on today, or I don't look that good. You know, somebody's given us something that's really beautiful and we've just gone, no, I'm not worthy of that. I'm just throwing it back. So learning how to receive compliments, just even by simple, thank you, that means a lot. It's just a beautiful thing to do.
And even if you don't receive it well, a good thing to notice is just try and switch that quickly and go, okay, I didn't receive that well. You know what? I'm going to accept your compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just quickly, because if you turn that around, the universe sees that and feels it. So, you know, okay, I've messed up a bit there, but I'm going to take that back and say thank you. No, I'll take that. Thank you. I am that.
Yes. and it creates that really lovely energy between two people, because if you do go, oh no, then that person might not compliment the next person, because they'll think, well, that didn't feel very nice when I did that. Whereas if you go, thank you, that really meant a lot, then the next time they see somebody and they notice something, they're more likely to spread a little bit of love and another compliment. So think about it as this cycle that you're entering into, where you're creating love for other people, not just for yourself. Probably makes it easier to receive it. So, and the other thing was, have you had coaching or mentoring? Has there been this kind of guidance to help you?
No, I'm going to say there's been bits, definitely been bits, and I certainly have had people who have sort of been triggers for where I've gone next. But I'm very much into flow, and I'm very much into Abraham Hicks' work. So I'm very much into allowing and knowing that if I can get into those better feeling places myself, if I can feel the energy, you know, it is my job to feel energy. It's my job also to channel flowers. So it's kind of, I'm a very feeling person. So if I can honor that within me, I find that that's how I work and how I flow. And you know, and practice the attitude of gratitude a lot.
Excellent. So I can't go for the next bit without saying, what are the flowers you're working with at the moment?
Well, we're just through our Red Columbine support group. We have an in-breath and an out-breath. So when we're on the in-breath, that's when we're all taking the energy of the flower. So we're actually, you know, taking it through drops. And then on the second month, that's when it's the out breath, because believe it or not, the energy is still within us. It's like gets into your DNA and it works within you, even when you're not taking it. So the energy of the flower is still there. So I still believe that the support in the group is always needed for the second month, sometimes more so.
Yeah.
And then in June, we're moving into Violet, which has already started to work with everybody within the group. So Violet is all about communicating from your heart with your intuition and being able to speak out your truth. So it is very much about the communicator, and it's very good flower essence for people who are teachers and who are public speakers and who want to open that throat chakra and really be able to express themselves. So what it does is it clears a lot of those blockages.
I'm keen now. I want some violet now.
Beautiful flower, beautiful flower.
Excellent. So at this stage in your entrepreneurial journey, what does success mean to you now?
Well, when you said it, the first word, and I'm going to go with this, that came to me was flow. Because if I've always found that if I've forced anything or pushed anything, it doesn't work for me. So success to me means if I can get people to really honor the benefits of nature and to understand how the power of the flower and vibrational essences and vibrational medicine of all forms works, then I've done my job. Because I just really want people to be able to see that that lifestyle is the way forward. We can heal ourselves through nature if we just allow ourselves to listen.
Because we are creatures of nature.
We are.
And if you had a top tip or top tips for new entrepreneurs, what would you say?
New entrepreneurs, I would say connect. Again, it's coming back, that word, connect with people, like-minded people, and also honor yourself and your intuition and get outside and walk in the woods. No, honestly, I say that. I'm lighthearted about that, but I say it because we can spend so much time on our computers, get so lost in the tech side of things that we forget that there is a world out there. And if we just step out, you can clear your mind, you can clear your head, you can come back and your work will be twice as powerful because you've just allowed that headspace and you've allowed yourself to open. So it sounds crazy, but it's true. Walk in the woods.
No, I'm not crazy at all because I'm very fortunate to live out in the countryside in a village, even though I'm only 45 minutes from London. But I can go for walks across the fields and there are certain little bits of woodland that I love. And there is also a chalk spring near where I live as well. So I can go to the chalk spring and the pools there and the river there and just sit with it as a break from working. So sometimes I take my breakfast. If it's a nice morning, I wander off with my breakfast.
That's good. It's perfect.
Excellent. So thank you so much. People watching, if they want to connect with you, how do they find out more about you?
Well, my website is silent-moon.co.uk. And also there's a free 6 magical moon rituals as well. So if people are interested in working with the moon, but they are kind of unsure about how to do ritual and how to engage with rituals, they can go to theimaginarium.love. And there you can pick up the 6 magical moon rituals. They're really creative. So you can take them, new moon, you can work with them on new moon and full moon, and then you can just make them your own. So they're there for you to play with and just to really honor and start to sort of work with the moon energy and see how it changes your life, because you'll notice the difference in about 3 months, how your life has shifted and changed just by working with the moon energy. So take those, run with them and play with them and let me know.
Thank you so much. I'm definitely downloading that. Thank you. So what have we learnt today? We've learnt that it's important to be in flow, that success that comes from being in flow, and about making connections. It doesn't matter what your business is, you have to get out and connect with people and connect with the energy that's going on outside. And once again, we come back to taking care of ourselves, whatever business we're in, taking the time out. If there's a if you're in the city and there's a park near you, if you're in the countryside and you've got access to just walk down pathways and through fields, get out there and do it. It's very worthwhile, not just for you, but also for your business. So thank you, Indra. This has been such a charm. And to all of our viewers, keep watching out for more of these wonderful interviews with amazing entrepreneurs. I'll see you next time.